Political parties in the country have begun positioning themselves for next year's poll. In its decade of existence, the EFF has managed to grow to the third largest parliament party of the years. And now the political terrain has been very turbulent in the last couple of months, and parties have had to navigate it with the understanding of the multiple challenges confronting South Africans currently. Political economists and columnists and writer Ishmail Lagardien has been exploring the progression of the party and joins us now to discuss some of his observations. Ishmael, good to have you, and thank you for coming on this afternoon. Is there a direct correlation between the growth of a political party in membership and its electoral success, or even the voting patterns of those who could vote for it?
Well, that's a fascinating question. No, because, it goes without saying the ANC had X amount of members in 1994, but the people who voted for them exceeded that in numbers. So there is no, there's no correlation there. We can expect a lot of noise, and we haven't looked at the numbers. The numbers change from day to day, but I think people will get more votes than they actually have membership.
Yeah, based on the latest internal campaign within, for example, a party like the EFF, they've been driving the growth of their membership, and they've successfully done so, setting a target of 1 million, and I think they've reached it and maybe even surpassed it, saying, well, that is an indication of a party that is also likely going to grow at the polls. Are we seeing any kind of transfer of that membership growth, maybe when we look at by-elections?
Yeah, absolutely. The EFF will definitely grow in terms of its membership, in terms of its appeal, and in terms of its performance in government, whichever government levels it goes into. The problem is that we have to then evaluate their performance after the election, because that's where the so-called the rubber hits the road. It's what do they do when they're in government, and that's where I think a lot of the problems step in. But to be sure, they are a force to be reckoned with, and they will become increasingly so. I will not be surprised if they become the second largest party in the country.
And that kind of dominance would it be linked to the dismal performance, I suppose, of the African National Congress, or will it be linked to a voter that otherwise had given up the participating in that democratic process, having been brought back into the fold?
Yeah, another very important question. The answer is multifold. The first is the ANC's poor performance in terms of delivery. Now, your previous speaker, your previous guest mentioned some of the reeling back of achievements, and that certainly is important. And then at the empirical level, people see, they see that those people who were in power before '94 are still very much in power, at least at the level of perception. They realize that the land issue has still not been resolved. They realize that people realize that unemployment is predominant among black people. So those are certainly things that will be considered. But then also, I think, and I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days, there's a liberal, I don't want to say a white liberal, but a liberal component of the ANC's support bloc that could become fractured with Zongezo Zivi and the few parties that are springing up around them under sort of a broadly liberal, loose affiliation of liberal parties. So Zaki Ahmad, for example, is very local. So it's unfair to say it, but he doesn't count on the national at the national level. But people like Rais Mzansi, those people will start eating away at that liberal base of the ANC. So I think that's where that's where the EFF will creep in, because the ANC's support is so eroded.
So, if I hear you correctly, are you saying that the EFF's brand of politics is largely uncontested right now in terms of what they bring? Maybe the parties that are there, the new organizations, would maybe be looking at taking away a little bit from the DA, a little bit from the ANC, maybe even some supporters of Action SA and so on and so forth.
Yeah, forgive me for becoming a bit theoretical here, but all political processes like elections are about a decision between rupture and continuity. So do we break things up, or do we continue going along as we are? And I think the EFF the EFF would rather break things, and then we don't know we can only assume what they will present based on their revolutionary talk. All the other parties, it seems that they will want to continue to work within existing institutions like the Constitution, like independent media, like the courts. So that's the difference. And I think there's enough anger and bitterness having built up in the country over the years. And my understanding, and this is purely an analysis that I've done, I think a piece I wrote in the Daily Maverick this week, I speak of echoes, homologies, and parallels. I don't say the EFF are fascists. I'm saying look at, Malema says, we're revolutionaries. We're going into a revolution. As revolutionaries, you must be prepared to die and you must be prepared to kill. And then I say, now look at what Mussolini says. Mussolini says we must be prepared and we must be to die. So I draw these attention. People must make up their own minds. So I think the point is there's enough anger going around to whip up and to tap for people to be exploited at that level. I'm angry, and you're probably angry. We all have anger, but what do? Do we break things up, or do we continue to work within the system? And this is the difference. And I think the EFF and Julius Malema in particular, he's marvelous. He's a wonderful orator, and he's very good at tapping into the anger, the fear, the dissatisfaction of people.
Yeah, I'm tempted to add this in. Let me go for it. There's a new kind of formation that is making noise. It emerged this past weekend. It seeks to portray itself maybe more than the EFF as the true ANC. The EFF would never say we are a true ANC, but they would say we maybe a real representation of the values of what would have been the ANC, and the ANC has abandoned those values.
Yeah.
Do you see a competition between the MK party and the EFF in any way?
Not at all. No, I think the EFF's way ahead of them. The EFF, they've been around for a decade. They know what they're doing. Some of us, and because of my understanding of populism and radical populism and violence, my understanding is they're a party to be feared at the level of politics and at the level of potential violence in society. Now, violence in society, it's like when we discuss patrimony. We don't have to see a woman being beaten up on the street corner every day. It is in the system. It is systemic. So I think the EFF are in the system, and they're doing what they're doing very well. And the fear is that they will tap into the anger of people, whereas these those who arrived this week, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have used that expression. Those who have just arrived, they have a huge battle on their hands. And while I don't like predictions, I think they will go the way of the ATM, and probably at best I can see them going away as COPE. And that is one of the things that I haven't explored yet, and I'm suggesting, I want to suggest that even Songezo Zibi might end up going the way of COPE. But I will have to do a lot more thinking on that. I don't think that the EFF has anything to fear about this new group of politicians.
Ishmail Lagardien, appreciate your time. Thank you.